Mike, thank you very much for being here today. First of all, I would like you to introduce yourself and describe your role into Rentokil Initial.
Sure, absolutely. Hi Nicola, I'm Mike Howell. So I'm the Group Head of Infrastructure Services for Rentokil Initial. Essentially my primary role is to define strategy and architecture for Rentokil Initial globally, so that we can consistently deliver a standard infrastructure platform in all the countries in which we operate.
Thanks, Mike. Now I would like to cover a little bit more about your company. So could you please tell us something about Rentokil Initial, the core business and the structure, the organization, the territories, just to let understand what is the main activity of the company.
Rentokil Initial is the world's #1 pest control and hygiene services company. Our mission is to protect people and enhance lives. For example, protecting people from the dangers of pest-borne diseases. We deliver these services globally in over 80 countries, and we've got over 40,000 employees.
When we were in Barcelona last year for the VMware Global event, I put my attention on a quote that you stated during one of your presentations from Rentokil that sounds like this. Over the next 3 years, we see significant opportunities to drive revenues, reduce costs, and help better serve and retain our customers through the deployment of digital technologies. Could you please go through this statement and let us know a little bit how it articulates what it means exactly?
Absolutely. So this statement is really key for us, and I think one of the key things is it was actually taken from our annual report back in 2016. So in today's kind of modern enterprises, 2019, every enterprise has a digital transformation, digital agenda type journey. But for Rentokil Initial, we're talking 3 years back that was taken from our annual report, and we're already really far ahead in that journey. So we like to think that we are leading edge. We like to think that we adopt kind of cutting edge, disruptive technologies. And as we've said in that statement, we think that it can help drive our business forward. Let me just give you some examples around it. So, yes, one of our biggest achievements is our IoT-enabled pest control traps. So essentially an internet-enabled product. We developed that product. We work very closely with Google to serve up an application into Google Cloud, and essentially that product can talk back to our customers, our business, in real time. Delivers fantastic value. This has been a really major achievement for us over the years. We've won a number of awards. Even last year, we won an award for the Queen's Award for Enterprise Innovation, which is a really prestigious award in the UK. So it just really tells how we are kind of forward thinking in those technologies as a business. Another example for us is Google. So we're a massive, completely full across all of our employees, Google applications user. It's commonplace now in an enterprise to use kind of that web-based suite of applications, but Rentokil Initial made that jump over 12 years ago, and at the time that was unheard of, and nobody else was doing that at the time, and for us, we could quickly see the benefits for our business, and we decided to adopt that technology. And it's been really been revolutionary for us, and our partnership with Google continues to flourish today. And then I guess in a very similar vein, SD-WAN, again, we started looking at that in 2015. We had some challenges that we were looking to address, but the technology was unheard of. We couldn't go and talk to other enterprises. We couldn't go and talk to the analysts. But very quickly we could see that there were benefits for our business. So we decided to do a lot more work with that technology. Eventually adopt that technology, and it's delivered significant value for the business today. Again, so just some examples of really where we'll take calculated risks on technology that we really think will help drive our business forward and differentiate us from our competitors.
Okay, that's very interesting, and everybody recognized the leading role of Rentokil Initial in innovation. And from the vendor side, this is really much appreciated because you are really on the front end of new technologies.
Absolutely.
Let's focus a little bit on SD-WAN now, Mike. Being the grandfather of the SD-WAN initiatives that you started several years ago, in 2015 in particular, could you tell us when and why you thought that SD-WAN could address the challenges, business challenges that you had at the time? Can you go a little bit through the history of this successful journey?
I'm not sure on the term grandfather, but we'll look past that. So, for Rentokil Initial back in 2015, as I previously mentioned, when we started that journey, there was a number of business challenges, and one of those, as I say, mentioned, we were really embarking on a digital transformation. We had a great kind of cloud-first application architecture, really driving towards the cloud, and ultimately that meant that we needed to reassess our network. We were, application-wise, we were serving content to the end user in countries, as close to them as possible. But from a networking perspective, we weren't able to serve that content to them. We were essentially taking their traffic across countries, across continents, and really it wasn't, it didn't deliver the right performance that we wanted for the user. So really we needed to bring that content as close to the end user, and with our traditional network, that just simply wasn't possible. So we began investigating, solutions that could help us do that. And at the time, as I say, SD-WAN was a brand new market, brand new solution to the market. But very quickly, working with suppliers such as VeloCloud and Wanrise, we were able to identify that actually, this could really help us address our business challenges. So when we moved into 2016, we decided to do a proof of concept. We ended up running quite a lengthy proof of concept, I'd say probably 6 to 9 months, but really because, as I say, it's so new in the market, we needed to do our due diligence, we needed to be sure that the solution was right for us. And at the end of that proof of concept, we essentially went into building the model with Wanrise to ensure that we had the right support around it, we had the right supply into all of our regions. And once we got that all right, moving to 2017, we made the decision to deploy. We deployed globally en masse. We aligned it as our existing WAN contracts and supplier contracts were expiring. And then I say fast forward to today, 2019, we've got over 500 sites deployed in 41 countries spread across 5 continents.
That's impressive.
Even today, we've still got one of the world's largest geographical spread deployments of SD-WAN.
In particular, Mike, can you deeply explain which were the business challenges that you thought would be addressed by the SD-WAN project?
Yeah, so there were several, there were several business drivers for this. Number one for us was performance. So as we've kind of briefly touched upon, we were really driving that cloud-first, cloud-centric application architecture. This meant that we were essentially serving up content from an application side as close to the user as possible, moving away from a traditional centralized data center architecture, serving it as practically as close to the end user in country as possible. So we needed the network to mirror that performance. We needed the users to break out locally. We needed them to access that content locally rather than backhauling that traffic across countries, across continents. Okay. So performance was key, and immediately it became very obvious that SD-WAN would allow us to do that. It would allow us to essentially amalgamate our network with local connectivity so that they could break out locally, but still access the content in our data center and do that in a secure manner. So that was really key for us, probably number one. But also in a very similar vein, as well as being able to provide low latency connectivity, we're also actually able to provide a much greater bandwidth to the users. So in our kind of modern application space, we're a big Google customer, and we were finding ourselves using Google Hangouts more and more. So this is their voice and video collaboration platform. And for us as a business, this is a fantastic product. It enabled collaboration between branches, between countries, between continents, and we needed to provide the bandwidth to allow that to work, because it was delivering significant business value, and by using business grade ISP circuits, which, look, if you assess the market, it's no surprise that business grade fibre ISP circuits generally come in much more cost effective than MPLS. So we were able to couple those ISP circuits with SD-WAN, and essentially provide a higher bandwidth, much greater service, generally for either the same cost or often much less globally. So that was a big driver for us as well. And then I guess the big three, thirdly, is just security. The out of the box security on SD-WAN is far greater than most MPLS networks out there. So end-to-end encryption, absolutely key with SD-WAN. So no matter what circuit your traffic goes across, whether it be ISP connectivity or whether it be a private circuit like an MPLS network, the traffic between sites is encrypted end to end. You're not relying on your provider's network to ensure that traffic is trusted.
It's natively encrypted.
Exactly, it's naturally encrypted at source, branch to branch, and it gives you a much greater degree of certainty over your security posture. Couple that in with some additional security features such as firewalling at the branch, firewalling at source, segmentation, allow you to separate traffic between business units, for example. Just the overall out of the box security on SD-WAN was, as I say, is far greater than most traditional WAN networks. And then I guess some of the secondary use cases for us was really around availability, resilience, agility. So availability and resilience, those go hand in hand, but as we've touched upon, you can get higher bandwidth, lower latency circuits for a fraction of the cost of what you could get with MPLS. So we were able to invest some of those savings into multiple circuits, higher SLAs on those circuits, which just overall increases the availability and the resilience, and just provide a better service back to our business, back to our customers. And agility, where every company is moving fast, every company needs to move quicker, and in the world of 5G today, we're able to couple that with SD-WAN and essentially have a site, have our business online accessing their content, data within minutes in a secure, manageable fashion. So really putting all those together, those were the primary drivers for us as to why we decided to embark on the SD-WAN journey.
Okay, it's understandable, because really from what you explained, there are really several areas from major to secondary use cases that are pushing, let's say, were pushing at that time to go towards SD-WAN. So
absolutely.
Thank you for clarifying this, Mike. So Mike, at the end, when you decided to go for the project, did you go for a complete and exhaustive scouting of the solution that were at that time on the market? What did you do?
So as we've already touched upon, we were in so early in the market that really we went to a great deal of effort to perform due diligence, but really had to be done by us. It had to be done internally in Rentokil Initial. We couldn't go out to the market at the time and talk to other enterprises, which people do have that luxury of today. We couldn't go to the analysts at the time because it was such
no data around.
Exactly, it was such a bleeding edge technology that at the time the data wasn't there around SD-WAN. So immediately we could see the benefits of the technology, but we needed to be sure. So this is one of the reasons why we went to such an in-depth proof of concept. We ran this proof of concept for 6 to 9 months is quite a lengthy proof of concept, but we needed to be sure of the technology. We went to a great deal of effort to really flesh out an in-depth success criteria. We needed to ensure that it could really meet all of the business challenges, and also some of the secondary challenges of being manageable, scalable, and just had the right support around the product itself. So no, we didn't go to a full scouting process. We just didn't have the luxury at the time.
Okay.
We essentially just did all of our in-house scouting on the product itself. We actually went on 2 proof of concepts. We selected another supplier at the time, but to be honest, that never got off the ground. and actually with VeloCloud, it really did, and that was again an indication of the simplicity of the technology to get it into an enterprise, as well as the great support that we had from VeloCloud and Wanrise at the time.
At the end of the scouting process, of the selection process, fortunately for us, you selected Wanrise and VeloCloud as the team to support you in the SD-WAN. Which were the key criteria for selecting us, let's say, as a team for the SD-WAN solution?
So really, it did come down to, firstly it came down to the technology. The technology had to satisfy all of the requirements, all of the business challenges that we were facing. It had to address those, and ultimately, as we've discussed through the scouting process, it was very clear that the VeloCloud technology was able to do that. So ultimately, that was key. But then moving on to kind of the next step is really around supply and support. Immediately for us, the whole kind of life cycle of the product was going to be the next big challenge to ensure that the life cycle management of the technology, so things like updates, patches, bug fixes, features, etc. We needed to ensure that was going to be done correctly, and also in terms of the life cycle of supplying the product and the ongoing support. Those were really key for us, and actually working very closely with Wanrise and VeloCloud. With VeloCloud on the technology side, during the proof of concept, we became, we were really satisfied with the way that they handled the technology, and dealt with the various kind of feature requests that we put in, any bugs that we found. They handled that in a very efficient manner. And then with Wanrise, it was all around building that support model, building that supply model, and just the degree of kind of flexibility and the due diligence that you did on your side to help us put that model in place. Ultimately, that led to the selection criteria.
Okay, great. At that time, SD-WAN was really a pioneering technology, and both Wanrise and VeloCloud were a young and innovative startups. Weren't you scared to select this approach compared with a more traditional one with established and bigger system integrator? And most important, are you regretting that decision after 3 years?
So it's never been a secret for Rentokil Initial that this was a calculated risk. Absolutely was a calculated risk. It was a brand new technology. VeloCloud and Wanrise were brand new companies. So we needed to ensure that we did our due diligence around it. That was absolutely clear. We went to great lengths to do that, as we've discussed in some detail, especially around the technology, the proof of concept, the length that we ran the proof of concept. We needed to ensure that this really was the right technology for our business, and if we were going to move forward, it was the right thing to do. Around the suppliers, though, again, we went to a great deal of due diligence with VeloCloud and Wanrise as well. So we went to see the VeloCloud team in Palo Alto. We came to Milan to see the Wanrise team. We needed to ensure that these suppliers essentially had the qualities of what we expect from a leading supplier, and also generally just shared the same values as Rentokil Initial do, especially with kind of leading edge technologies. So we came away from that very, very confident. We met with the teams, the technology was strong, and ultimately that's what led us to make that decision. As you say, a calculated risk, but we felt like it was the right risk for our business, and that actually it would deliver significant value. So look at the VeloCloud, they've gone from strength to strength, being acquired by VMware, the business continues to grow. Our partnership with Wanrise goes from strength to strength. The supply and the support models that you've put in place have been fantastic for us. So no regrets, absolutely no regrets. And actually, genuinely, the opposite. I feel quite proud that we were able to go against the traditional models and build a model that was right for Rentokil Initial. Take a calculated risk on a leading edge technology that has absolutely delivered value for our business. So as I say, no regrets. Proud that we were able to do that. Proud that we were probably able to shape the SD-WAN market as well, and the technology, especially in its early days. So yeah, very, very pleased with where we are today.
I'm very happy to hear that, and I absolutely am with you saying that it was a very brave decision anyway. So no matter how you calculate the risk, but it was the risk that fortunately led to a success, and that's
absolutely
very nice to hear. Talking about Wanrise, since it's now 3 years time that we kicked off together this project, etc. How do you evaluate your cooperation with us, with Wanrise specifically?
Sure, I think we've built a really, really strong partnership. We've put together a fantastic model around support and around supply. So for support, you provide global support for us 24/7, regardless of country, location, and that is working fantastically well today. For supply, you supply all of our EMEA region, which is a challenge in itself due to the many countries in which we operate in.
Customs, different customs.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I think for me, some of the key, one of the big key achievements for that is essentially how Wanrise and Rentokil have handled the commercial, the acquisition by VMware. It has been a very seamless process, and Wanrise were there for every step of the way to ensure that was the case. So for me, that has been really valuable in our relationship. And just that drive to improve the process, as you talk about, we do. We are looking to deploy this in a number of countries, and we do acquire and we do move into some challenging countries that have some challenging custom requirements, and actually Wanrise have again ensured that process has gone as smoothly as possible, and are constantly looking to improve the processes that we're delivering on a day-to-day basis.
In terms of expectation balance, let's say expectation review nowadays, are the expectations you had matched today? And tell us a little bit about how is the deployment of the SD-WAN network now? I mean, is it completed, close by? And what you see for future expansions of the SD-WAN network, maybe through acquisition or through different areas of the company? Tell us something about
that. That's a good question. I would say we are probably around 85-90% through our kind of initial scope of deployments. As I say, we're over 500 sites globally now, so we are reaching the end. We started that journey in 2017. So it's been a very calculated journey. You don't just deploy 500 sites overnight. What we've needed to do as a business is to align that with expiring contracts, with existing suppliers, ensuring that we do a seamless transition onto our SD-WAN network. So, it has been a journey. We are absolutely reaching the end of that journey, which is great to see.
Of course.
In terms of future deployments, Rentokil Initial, there will always be future deployments. We are highly, highly acquisitive. We've acquired over 17 companies just in 2019 alone. So acquisition continues to be at the heart of our business, and therefore there will always be further deployments, further growth within our network. But the key thing is for me, actually, with the partnership with Wanrise, with the VeloCloud technology, that we're ready. We're ready to get those sites online. We can do it fast, we can do it in an agile manner, we can provide connectivity in a secure, fast way to the business. And for me, that is, ultimately the greatest achievement of this, and our entire SD-WAN deployment.
Yes, sure, Mike. So, in terms of new acquisitions, etc., you would expand the SD-WAN network towards new areas. So that's a little bit the default architecture for Rentokil now.
That is the default architecture for Rentokil Initial. SD-WAN is the de facto standard for our WAN services within Rentokil Initial globally. As we touched upon before, the key part of my role is to define standards, architecture globally, and SD-WAN is that standard. Okay, Mike, almost done now. I would like to place you this last question that I'm sure you are expecting, and is with regards of your personal experience working with Wanrise, would you recommend us for other enterprises that are starting their SD-WAN journey? So Rentokil Initial, our SD-WAN journey has been, hugely successful. We've been able to deliver greater performance, greater resilience, greater security, management at scale, just an overall better service, better experience for our business, for our end users. And ultimately, Wanrise has been there every step of the way in that journey, and has helped us get from where we were to where we are today. So absolutely, I would have no issues in recommending Wanrise to any enterprise starting their SD-WAN journey. Okay, Mike. Thank you very much. Pleasure. It was a pleasure, as always. Always.